let's make sure we understand the impacts of taxes in retirement. First, when you get your annuity, a portion of that annuity is your contribution into the system. So you get that contribution back without any taxes, but it's a very little piece. Don't get excited. The vast majority of your pension is taxable, okay? And that is automatically calculated when you get your 1099 from the government every year. So I promise we'd look at the whole country for people that are all over the place. Look at this neat little map, the impact of taxes. What's the most favored or most tax-friendly states for retirees? Oh, look, I'm in Georgia. Isn't that great? Georgia, Florida are in the darker green colors, along with Alaska. Of course, be careful, cost of living is higher there. But you see a lot of the southeastern states seem to be more retirement friendly. Your west coast and your northern states seem to be not so friendly in their tax code. And I'll give you just a quick example. Again, there's 50 of these, so I'm not going to do it, but I'm just going to give you again, Georgia code as an example for those people that retire and turn age 62. The first $35,000 of pension income, which includes TSP or IRA withdrawals, interest, dividends, the first $35,000 is not taxable in the state of Georgia. When you turn 65, you get a $65,000 exemption. So while everybody else around you is paying tax, you're not on that much money. So Georgia's done a good job of trying to attract retirees. Of course, Florida has no state income tax. They may make it up on property tax and other issues and sales tax, but there's no income tax. So know the state and know the cost of that state as you look into retirement. Don't underestimate what could be 5 to 10% of your retirement dollars going back to the local authorities in taxes. Lastly, I want to give this point. Most people come to me saying, you know, when I retire, my income is going to drop significantly. Thus, I'm going to be paying less tax when I get there at a lower rate. And oftentimes I get, well, I'm going to be older. Won't I pay less tax because I'm older? And what I'm showing you today, 2018 tax rates for married filing jointly, regardless of age, by the way, on this bracket. The first, as you can see, let's go to the second bracket, $77,000 is taxed at that 12%. And as you go above the $77,000, you begin to be taxed at 22 cents on the dollar until you break $165,000. Then it goes to 24 cents on the dollar. So you see our graduated scale of our tax code. The more you make, the larger percentage you pay on the assets. Okay? So that's the way we are today. Now, when you retire, again, I asked the loaded question, do you want to have a substantially lower lifestyle? And if I were to poll you, the vast majority of the couple of hundred people online would not say, I want a much lesser lifestyle after I retire. So, but here's what typically happens. While working, your income is going to be, I'm going to put an X on the screen here. Your income is going to be about right, let me get my X to show up, about right here. So typically we find people in taxable income, not your total adjusted gross income, your taxable income, at about the high end of the 22% bracket. You retire and your income drops all the way down to about right there at the bottom end of the 22% bracket. What happened, class? You're still paying the same amount of tax, you're just on the other end of that same zone. So be careful in thinking that I'm going to save a lot of money on taxes when I retire. After working with many people that were working and then retired, we find that just not to be the case, primarily for this group, the federal employee, because the federal employee has these robust pensions that the rest of the world doesn't have. So yes, it may be true for a lot of your friends and neighbors that their income will drop dramatically and they'll draw from their assets at a much lower rate. But for you, with these robust pensions, that's typically not the case. So I'm not saying that's true for everyone online here, but I will tell you that that is very common when we actually run the numbers. So if that's you, then the question is, so what do you do? How do you save money to make sure that you have what you need? So I'm going to talk through the four lists on the Smart Money list and for just a few moments here. Number one, what's the best kind of money to have, class, right? It is free money, or OPM, which stands for other people's money. So in this case, we want to make sure we understand that free money for you first, folks, is that 5% match. Make sure you're getting that money. Obviously, inheritance and family gifts work out well too, right? But once free money runs out, the next best kind of money for you as a retiree, right? Because we don't want to talk about you as an employee. We're here today to talk about you as a retiree. So the next best kind of money to have is generally tax-free money. Money that is, and for in most cases, as long as done or handled appropriately, will be tax-free when you take it out in retirement. And now, again, we're not talking about accumulation now. We're talking about distribution, the good stuff, the fun part. Tax-free includes the Roth. Now, you got the Roth IRA, the Roth TSP. I'm going to get into that in good detail in just a moment. Cash value of life insurance, if handled appropriately, can be tax-free. And some municipal bonds may be tax-free. You have to be careful with some of these municipal bonds. They may create tax on Social Security or other issues, but they would generally fall in the tax-free category. The third best place to have money for retirees is in the tax-deferred bucket. That's your traditional TSP or IRA. Now, the vast majority of the assets that we have online with us today are in that tax me later bucket. As we train large groups of people all over the country face to face, we find over and over when we ask, raise your hands, that's where most of the money is. So you see now it's third in line, or it's behind the tax-free money, but that's where you saved it because that's about the only choice you had until the last few years, the traditional TSP. And lastly, taxable income. Taxable income money is the least favored. This is stuff that maybe an investment you have that spins off income. You make 10%, you got to pay taxes. You make 3%, you got to pay taxes. You lose money, you don't pay taxes, but the next month you make money and you've got to pay tax again. So every time it's very inefficient to have to pay the tax every year as you go, as opposed to even having it tax deferred. So on this smart money list, I want you to have the concept in mind that as you are drawing money out, you want the higher end money, meaning that tax-free money is a better benefit than tax-deferred money. Okay? Great smart money list. Hope you took a few notes on that page because that's of great value to you. Let me move. So let's define simply. You've got these facts, but I want to give this to you. So if there's a few people online that didn't quite get the meaning of those words, I'm going to define them for you here briefly. A tax-deferred money is like a candy wrapper, if you will. So it can be an IRA or TSP that's the wrapper for the GFCSI, the L funds. That money is inside that wrapper, growing tax-deferred. Now, I don't care which piece of candy you have in the wrapper, it's still in the wrapper. You can also have mutual funds, gold, real estate. Those things can be in an IRA. And that money goes in pre-tax. So you don't pay tax on the going in. You pay tax on the coming out. So when you plant a seed of corn, they're saying don't pay tax on the seed. Wait until it flourishes to a harvest. Pay tax on the harvest, on the whole cob when that comes. In contrast, tax-free wrapper or the Roth TSP or Roth IRA, same funds can be inside of this wrapper, the GFCSI, the L funds, if you will. You can have in an IRA gold, real estate, mutual funds. Now, the money goes in after tax, and tax-free distributions happen in this case. You go ahead and pay the tax on the seed, and when it grows to full harvest, that is when it can be tax-free. Okay? So that's the way this smart money list works, while that tax-free item is listed above the tax-deferred item. This option has been available in your Roth TSP for just a few years now, and we typically find when we train people that most people haven't even heard of it. It hasn't been well advertised to all the federal employees.